Hello YouTube, Mithrila here, and today we are going to return to my roots and do Might and Magic 6, The Mandate of Heaven. If you have been on my videos at all, you will see that there are a collection of 5 or 6 videos where I do a Let's Play of this game. Unfortunately, my save file got corrupted, and I just, college started up and all that, so I couldn't really go back and re-record anything. Now that I actually have a rig where I can record videos again, I am going to go back and we're going to finish. My goal with this game is we're going to go through with a default party. I'm going to show you the mechanics, the gameplay, the story, because I think that this is one of those unsung games that just everybody I think should play because it's just an amazing game. If you are interested in buying this game, you can get it from Good Old Games. 3DO is no longer with us, but the franchise got bought up by Ubisoft, and you can get it in a bundle for $9.99. Might and Magic 1 through 6. I think that the bundle is worth it just for this game. I would pay $10 for this game and not look back. This game is just amazing. Okay, so what we are going to do is we're going to start in, we're going to make our party, and then once we are done with our party, I'm going to end the video, make sure everything's recording properly, and we will go on. If there's a really good response to these videos, I'm more than happy to record Might and Magic 7 and Might and Magic 8 as well. I will not touch Might and Magic 9 with a 10-foot pole because that game is buggy, and I'm not putting up with that, neither should you. If there is a fantastic response to these videos, I might go through this game again once I've beat it the first time with a more non-traditional party. And that's just something that I've never really done before on or off YouTube, but I think it might be something interesting for me to explore and for you guys to see how replayable this game is with a more challenging setup. Without further ado, let's start a new game here. Alright, if you want to have that whole thing read to you, you can go back to one of my very first videos on this channel. I do actually read the whole thing. For this video, though, I really want to go through and focus on building our characters here. Our party has 4 possible people, and you have these 4 people, you make them at the very beginning, and they hang out with you for the whole game. There are only 6 classes. There is, if you look down here, there's Knight, Paladin, Cleric, Archer, Sorcerer, Druid. Knight, who is not represented here, has absolutely no magical skills whatsoever. They are quite literally the meat shield. Sometimes I like to swap out the Paladin for the Knight, just to give myself a little bit more of that meat shield mentality. I definitely lean more towards the Might in the Might and Magic idea when I play these. Is just my personal preference. However, since I said I'd go through with the default party, I'm going to go ahead and keep this guy as a Paladin. Paladins are a lot like Knights, except that they can have the capability to cast Holy Magic, which is useful if someone decides that your traditional healer is going to have a very bad day. It enables you to at least be able to resurrect your healer or otherwise keep your party alive while you book it out of whatever dungeon you decide to go into. Cleric is a traditional healer. They can use chainmail, they can use maces and shields, so they're actually pretty beefy as far as healers go. They have a good mana pool, they're just really good characters all around, actually. The clerics are probably one of my favorite characters in these. An archer is a might type character who obviously specializes in bows, but they can cast elemental type magics. They have an extremely small mana pool, especially at the very beginning. So at the very beginning, you're not going to be doing a lot of magic with them. You're going to be focusing a lot more on the might aspect. But as you get further along in the game, it's nice to have, again, that backup in case someone decides that your traditional elemental magic user needs to have a bad day. The archer has the capability of picking up some of the slack while you get your elemental magic user back up and running. The sorcerer is just your traditional sorcerer glass cannon type character. They are masters of elemental magic. They can also use dark and light magic. They are definitely, like I said, they are glass cannons. They can only use leather armor. They have some of the worst hit points in the game, but that's kind of what you expect from a sorcerer, to be perfectly honest. Not really much else there, they're just elemental magic users. Druids are an interesting group. Druids can use holy magic and elemental magics. They are your jack of all trades kind of magic users. And they're good to have in a nasty spot if, say, you want to replace an archer with a druid to make your game more magic heavy. That's actually something I've seen people do a lot of. I've actually used druids in places of clerics before just to have an extra elemental magic user, but that's just something that we're not going to play with so much in this video. Druids are, though, they're fun. They're squishy, though. They're squishy like sorcerers are squishy, where they can only use leather armor and they don't have a lot of hit points, but they make up for that by being your utility magic user that can use almost every kind of magic in the game except for light and dark magic, which useful, definitely useful. Alright, as we go through, we build these characters. The primary stats you need to keep in mind, let's just go through this. Might is obviously how hard you hit. Intellect is has to do with your utility with elemental type magics. If you are an elemental magic user, you want to have a high intellect because that will help govern your mana pool. Personality is useful for holy type magics, which makes sense. This is a very traditional D&D type environment here, where personality, or charisma as it's more often referred to in D&D, is necessary for clerics and for paladins to cast their spells. Like intellect is for your elemental magic users, having high personality helps with your magic pool. It also makes your holy spells much more powerful. Endurance has to do with your hit point count. It also has to do with what I call the death floor. What that means is that you can technically go into negative hit points. You don't just stop at 0 and just get knocked out or dead. 0 is you get knocked out, but if you get hit hard enough where it goes a certain threshold below 0, then you will die. And that's an interesting mechanic from the Might and Magic series. Your endurance number is your death threshold. It's that death floor. It means that he can go down to negative 11 hit points, and after that point, he's dead, and you have to resurrect him, and it costs a lot of money. It's well worth it for everybody to have decent endurance, just because, well, you never know when someone's gonna get thwacked by a titan or something. Accuracy is exactly what it is. There is actually no dexterity, which is really unusual for a Dungeons and Dragons style game. There's no dexterity at all. There are instead 2 stats of accuracy and speed, and accuracy is literally just your chance to hit. It's a good idea for everybody to have accuracy up, especially if you're a bow user. Speed governs things like your running speed when you're out and about. It also governs your recovery time, so it means that you don't have to take as much time recovering between spells or between thwacking people with your sword. Everybody should have speed. Everybody should have speed. Luck is one of those interesting kinds of things. It has to do with resistance, magic resistance, as well as not taking as much damage from traps, which again is a good utility stat. I generally keep stats like luck lower because I have a lot of opportunities in the game to actually get that up for free without having to do it in the screen. Let's go through, and I'm going to do a little bit of min-maxing here. For instance, my paladin does not need to be smart, but he does need to be likable. That kind of thing. He also needs to have a strong thwacking arm. So just going through here, and I'm just going to beef up everybody's magic pools, especially at the beginning. How much mana you have really makes a big difference in how far you can go in dungeons. It doesn't make as much of a difference later on in the game, but early on where we're at, yeah, we need these bigger magic pools. We need our magic to do a bit more for us. I'm going to pump up a little bit of accuracy for my sorcerer because, you know, it's always a good idea when his fireballs hit. I'm going to pump up her speed a little bit because she is really, really slow. I'm also going to pump up her might just a little bit so that she can thwack people harder with her mace. Last thing we need to do is we need to pick some secondary skills for these guys. They start out with 2 skills that are just default for the class, and then we have to pick 2 others. For my paladin, I'm going to give him Spear, because that is a weapon skill that he's going to be using a lot of. Maybe not necessarily early on in the game, but definitely here at the we're just not going to want to buy it later. And then, see, there's armor, there's other things. I don't really want to give him Disarm Trap. I think I actually want to give that to my archer later. Let's give him a bit of armor, and we'll give him his shield. He won't be using it forever, but again, we'll just ditch it later, and it'll be cool. My archer, she starts out with a bow skill, obviously, because she's an archer, and then with the air magic skill. Let's see, I want to give her axe, because she needs a melee weapon of some sort, and then I want to give her Disarm Trap. I think that she's going to be my speedy character, and she will be able to disarm traps for us. My cleric, she starts out with mace and body magic. I'm going to give her mind magic. I'm not going to give her spirit magic right away because technically our paladin already has it. Let's see, and then I'm also going to give her shield because she needs some kind of armor, and she's going to be actually using shield for the rest of the game. We may as well just get it right now. And then Zoltan, my glass cannon sorcerer, he starts out with dagger of all things. Why it's not a staff, I've never quite understood. And then he also starts out with fire magic, starting out with those good old fireballs. I am going to give him water magic and earth magic. The reason being is that no one else has those magics covered right now, and this will make it so that I have all of my magics possible in my 4 characters that I have access to. I will be able to pick up, say, leather armor. I can pick that up later. I can pick up identify item later. It's not that big of an issue. I'll probably pick them up in the first town. But new magic skills are expensive. They just are. And I really don't want to have to, especially at the beginning when I don't have a lot of money, I don't want to have to buy new magic schools. I'd rather just play with what I have, with the limitations that I have, and make sure that I just have everything covered to start. As I go through, I will eventually start filling it in. For instance, my cleric will get spirit magic, my paladin will get body and mind magic, my archer will get other elemental magics, and so will my sorcerer. But at the moment where I'm just starting out, I just want to have everything covered. That way I have a bunch of just general utility starting out. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the game. Here we are. This is New Sorpigal. There's our sign here that says "Welcome to New Sorpigal." This is the starting town. With that, I am going to actually stop the video here. I'm going to make sure that everything's recording properly, and then hopefully I can record a bit more later on today and get those up in a timely fashion. So, once again, this is Mithrila. Thank you for joining me in with this redo of Might and Magic 6, and I hope to see you in the next video.